So I've got the water up to the temperature that we're going to steep the grain. And we're just going at a temperature of the single infusion mash temperature of 163, 164. That's not necessarily the temperature you have to go for, but you know, it's a tried and true temperature. And again, we're just going to be steeping the grain for a little while, so it's not really imperative. I've opened up the grain bag here, and I'm trying to do this holding the camera with one hand and working with the other. So you can see it comes in, you can see my fruit CSA behind here. You can see it's in this steeping bag. Later on, little trick is after you're done using this as a grain steeping bag, cut off the top, empty out the grains, and use it as a hop steeping bag. So you kind of get a 2-for-1, and that's kind of a freebie there. Right now we're just going to put this into the water, and we're just going to drop the whole thing in. I happen to have some enzymes on me because, well, I just happen to have a lot of enzymes on me because that's what you end up doing when you own a homebrew store. And what we're doing at this point really is we're trying to extract everything out of there. We're going to let this steep here in a second, but don't be afraid to give this a really good stir, and to stir it quite frequently, because we're really trying to get as much out of this little bit of malt as we can. We're using only a pound of malt, and this happens to be a 2.5 gallon batch, which is smaller than usual. Usually it's a 5-gallon batch, but that 1 pound of malt has to do a lot of work in a pretty sizable amount of beer. So don't be afraid to really, let it steep. Obviously, we're going to put the top on the kettle here, and we're going to let it steep, but we also want to give it a good stir and mix and really get as much out of there as we can. So right now, I'm just going to remove this dial thermometer so that I can put the lid on. And I don't have the heat turned on, and I don't have the heat turned on for a reason, because I'm on an electric stove, and the grain bag is sitting on the bottom of the brew kettle. If I turn the elements on, or if I turn the flame on, you're going to scorch that grain bag, and potentially the bag itself will actually break, and you're going to end up with a bunch of malts in there. So rather than trying to maintain the temperature, I would recommend just steeping it. If it drops really fast and you want to turn the heat on, just go ahead and get that grain bag off the bottom. But that gets a little complicated, and I recommend just putting a nice good cover on there, stirring it, and on occasion and extracting as much flavor and other good stuff out of there as you can, rather than messing around with the temperature dials on your stove. All right, I'll catch you here in another second.